I'm Farrar Martin. I'm on the Memorial Garden Committee, and that Cindy Edmondson and Faye Price asked me to talk about Old Town Cemetery and Memorial Garden. So I think it was like 2010. Wadey Winslow gifted the church some funds to restore this cemetery, and everybody just assumed the cemetery was Howard Memorial's, which it was not. It's the oldest cemetery in Tarboro, Old Town Cemetery, in 1790. So Edward Robinson really kind of got the ball rolling. He brought Little, who's a landscape architect, in and told us kind of what we need to take out, what we need to put in. Everything that was kind of taken out or added was something that was indicative of a 1790 cemetery. Once it was full, the town started Greenwood Cemetery on the edge of town, and this place just kind of sat here. The town didn't really care about it too much, so eventually we took ownership of it. And we did a number of fundraising efforts so that we wouldn't kind of go through Wadey's monies. If we want to be good stewards of that. So on this street, which is St. James Street, is London Mary Mayo's gate, and Doug Harrison dedicated the gate over here to his mother and brother. Then we had to build a service gate over here, which is dedicated to Joe and Reynolds Calvert, and that was kind of a big undertaking. And then the main gate over here next to the niche area is Dr. Robinson and Mrs. Robinson. And then over here in the corner is one of the original spires from the Presbyterian Church that Bob Burns found in a guy's backyard on Fanola Street, paid $25 for it. And so the church restored it. It's been sitting out there for years. And so we had a place to put it, and we were ready to go with it. The professionals in Raleigh told us where it had to go and everything. And Dr. Jimmy Winslow showed up and said, look, this isn't where it should be, that it really should kind of be over here. And we went home and thought about it, and he was right. So we decided to move it over here. And Peggy Rogers Leggett has always wanted it to, had always requested and hoped that one day we could light our church steeple. So we thought, well, that'd be a good person to kind of dedicate it to. So that the steeple that's over here is lined up with the original steeple. And the last thing that we're gonna add is a 1874 summer house that has kind of been approved by the Memorial Garden Committee and the session, and at some point that'll kind of go line up with the steeple, and both steeples, and Peggy Rogers and the main one. And Christopher Edmondson always used to talk about that. He thought it'd be great to have something out there, and that's kind of, I guess, where the idea kind of came from. But lastly, this chapel we're sitting in, which is Miss Mattie Shackler's memory chapel, and that she was ran the county home at the edge of town, which is kind of still there, it's abandoned. And she was like the old guard that told me when I was a kid that she was like a super patriot, and that she was always giving lectures about the flag. Nancy Gilman said she always said the flag, and that she would talk to school kids and talk about patriotism and what America meant to her. And she was a Army Red Cross nurse in Serbia. And Annie Simmons told me one time, she said she was like in the thick of it, that she was like Hemingway. She said she wouldn't like me passing out brandies in Italy. The bombs going off, she was in it. And she had this horse, and the horse was named Mona Lisa. And Nancy Gilman told me that was like her most loved thing in the world. And that there was this little girl that had no mother and no daddy out at the county home, which she ran. And she said she named that child after that horse, Mona Lisa. And so she's telling my daughter, Mary Marshall, this when she's like 5 or something. And so she tells us, was talking about that horse and naming that kid after that horse, and named her Lisa. And so Mary Marshall says, Nancy, I can't believe it. Named that little girl after that horse. And she said, you know, you don't understand, Mary Marshall, that horse was the most loved thing in her life. To name that kid after that horse was like the ultimate compliment. And so she was kind of a bigger than life person. And so she was not a wealthy person, but she built this chapel to kind of, think about, the folks that came before her. And like the plaque that's inside says, this chapel is dedicated to those who have worthy lived and courageous fought for the right. And when I was a kid, I don't know, I must have been like 8 years old or something, they rededicated, she's buried out here, and it's on there, it says patriot and humanitarian. The reason for this chapel, to think about the folks that, came before us, and oftentimes I'll come out here and I'll think about people like John Brooks and Hassan Hackthig Penn and the Holdenses and Brian Hayslip, and think about Brian Hayslip, like, you'd be sitting in church about ready to nod off, and then somebody, it's his turn to read scripture, and he'd go up front, and for 3 or 4 minutes, it was like Richard Burton and Shakespeare had nothing on this guy. It was like extraordinary, but I love that guy, miss him. But then we had a lot of folks like that, Herbert Taylor, and folks that we think about that, and that's what this chapel is all about. And I guess it was quite a deal to restore it, but anyway, it kind of anchors the back corner of this cemetery, and that our, I guess the mission of the Memorial Guard Committee is to, first, to be good stewards of Wadey Winslow's contribution, and to look after these grounds, and don't do something that's it's a stupid mistake 40, 50 years from now, to kind of look after things. And that lastly, in the olden days, we didn't have city parks. Central Park was like the first to come along in America. And so this is where places like this is where people came to have picnics and family gatherings and stuff like that. And that's what it was like. And it's, the folks in Raleigh told us it was a good anchor for the historic district in our community in Tarboro and Edgecombe County. And so that's about it.